Good morning, YouTube. Finally got the front tire changed out and got my fenders on. It's finally started to get some rain, and the trails up in the mountains are getting a little muddy, so I have the rear fenders on as well. So this was the old rear tire that I took off a few months back when I had the broken spoke. This is the front tire that I just replaced there. So a little bit of background. This was the original front tire that was on the bike when I built it in 2012. Ran that for I think about 2 years, and then when I converted to tubeless I moved this tire to the back. So this ran in the back for maybe about a year, and then I had the puncture in this tire and I took it off and replaced it with this tire. Now this tire spent 4 years on the back of the bike. So I showed you a video of putting this patch tire on. I originally put it on the front, left this one on the back. So like I said, this tire ended up with about 4 years on the back of the bike, and then it was about a year and a half ago that I swapped these. Now another point is both these tires have about 5.5 years of riding on them, and you can see this one still has fairly decent tread. This one is like all gone, and the big difference is this spent more time on the back of the bike than this tire. Now this tire is like 8.5 years old, and you can see how the rubber is cracking, and that's why I pulled this off the bike. I was going to replace this tire about this time anyway. I had just added sealant to both these tires last summer when I had to change this one. So I tried to recover some of the sealant out of the tire, but it's really hard to do. So with this tire I waited until either I needed to add sealant or we started getting enough rain to turn the trails muddy, and I needed to change the tire for the better tread. So a couple of things I've learned about these tires. One is the rubber lasts about 8 years, so you need to wear the tire out before the rubber starts cracking. The other thing is, on my bike, with the type of riding I do, 4 years is about all you can get out of a tire if it's on the back of the bike. Now if you put a tire on the front and left it there, it would probably look like that after 8 years. It would still have plenty of tread, but it would be cracking to the point you had to change it out. So that's where I came up with my tire management plan. Is I'm going to leave these 2 new tires on the bike for 3 years. That way I'll still have tread on the back. Then I can swap them, put this tire on the back, which will have almost new tread, and then do another 3 years. And then I'll replace both tires, and hopefully they'll still have like that much tread, but look like this tire with good, solid, uncracked rubber. So when I originally swapped this and put this tire on the back and this tire on the front, this tire was worn down to about that level. So there was 2 things I was thinking about. One was, on the front, it's not going to wear that much, so if the tread's kind of worn down, it's not that big a deal. And I was thinking, on pavement, this smoother tread compared to this might actually roll easier and be quieter. And then when I changed out this tire a few weeks ago, I noticed a huge change in noise. And what it is, when you have this center tread here, especially on a newer tire, the tire rolls on these center tread blocks, and these intermediate blocks here don't touch the road that much, so it's fairly silent. But on this tire, when the tread wears down that far, you can see how these intermediate blocks are completely worn down too. The whole width of the tread from there to there is touching, and these things make a lot of noise. You know, it almost sounds like a knobby mountain bike tire rolling down the pavement. And that noise also is higher rolling resistance. When I put this new tire on, totally silent, and the bike just feels so much more responsive. I'm used to riding slick road tires on my road bike, and that's like tons of tread on a road bike tire, but with this tread design, you can see how all these side lugs were touching, and that just adds so much rolling resistance. This tire was okay. It was just starting to touch. You can see some of the places it's touching these side lugs. So those are some of the things I learned, and that's what I'm trying to avoid by using a new set of tires, 3 years on the front. I'll move it to the back for 3 years, and then I will get rid of both tires at the end of 6 years. And like I mentioned, I could run a tire on the back for like 4 years and get down to something between these two. And then I would change the tire in the back, run it another 4 years, and I could probably get 8 years out of the front. So that would be 3 tires in 8 years. With my 6-year plan, you would use 2 tires in 6 years. And if you did the 4-year in the back and 8-year in the front, that's 3 tires in 8 years. But you're only getting 2 years out of that extra 3rd tire. That's the only real drawback I see on these tires, is that they're rather expensive. That's about $150 worth of tires. And so I'm trying to maximize the useful life of these things to get the most value out of that $150. So by using 2 tires in 6 years, it's about $25 a year for tires. If I ran a cheaper tire, it would be changing tires more often. The other thing I'm trying to minimize, because I run these tubeless, changing tires is kind of a messy affair and it's time consuming, so I want to minimize that as much as possible. So I'm only having to swap tires once in the middle and then put new tires on, versus if I ran a tire that I had to change out every year or two, I'd be changing tires all the time. I mean, it feels like a brand new bike with that tire on the front. I mean, it's just amazing the difference that is. That thing really rolls easy. You just feel it. You know, you coast farther, the steering, you turn the handlebar, and it's just instant response, where this one was kind of a delayed response. It almost felt like you had a flat tire. It was that sort of sluggish, but running the same pressure in this tire and that tire, there's just a huge difference that makes. I was thinking that might be better on the road, having worn out tread, but it turns out it's actually worse. If you're running these tires, you really don't want to wear them down too far. You lose traction and you actually increase rolling resistance and noise. They get really noisy when they wear down that far compared to like this. And that was the problem. I couldn't tell when I was running these 2 tires. It was noisy, and I thought it might just be due to going front and back. Tread wear is a little different on the front and the back. I know in my truck, when I swap front and rear tires, you'll hear it be a little bit noisier for a while until the tread wear evens out, and then it sounds normal again. So I was thinking that was the case with the tires. When I put this one on the front, had this one on the back, I thought, oh, it's just swapping them around, it'll get better in a while, and it didn't. Sharing my experience with these tires. If you have any input on that, feel free to post up in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching.